Okay, so I've been getting a lot of requests for more music, as always. However, I also remember that there's a specific time of the year where music uh, with instruments is not listened to. I believe it's only like a cappella that could be heard. And so I had a brief explanation of it in a conversation, but I figured why not see if I could find a video on it. Um, a lot of the videos I usually find you guys don't really like, but I remember Shabbat was recommended. Somebody said it's always a good one to check out. So I figured why don't we check this out? This is Counting the Omar with Dr. Chighel. Eagle. Let's get into it.
Hi, I'm Michael Chighel, and you are
Chighel.
clearly someone who needs to know what's up with counting the Omer. But before we ask what's up with, we need to ask what is the Omer. The Torah tells us in Vayikra, you'll start to count the Omer the day after the Passover festival.
Now, I think I'm going to take off the captions here, but I think from what I remember, it was something about a sage or a teacher, and there was some sort of, I don't know if it was a plague or just a lot of his students had passed or his followers had passed. And this is kind of like a mourning of that. I don't remember fully, but I think. And there's something with the 33rd day. I know it's like a stretch of a certain amount of days where you're not supposed to do things, but there's like a specific day where kind of it's like a get out of free jail card. Like you could do those things that you were not doing. But again, this is just kind of what I remembered from a previous conversation. So let's get into it.
From the day you bring the Omer, the sheaf of the waved offering. The count will take 7 full weeks. Once the count is done, we designate the following day Shavuot.
So is the sheaf like, this looks like wheat. Is that like a bundle of wheat?
The Festival of Weeks. As soon as 3 stars appear in the sky at the close of the first day of Pesach, we bless God for sanctifying us with the mitzvah of counting the Omer. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu.
Blessed are you, O Lord, our God, King of this universe, who sanctified us with commandments. Oh, okay.
B'mitzvotav etzivanu al sfirat haomer. And then we count. Today is day 1 of the Omer. Hayom yom echad laOmer. On the second day, we say today is day 2 of the Omer, and so on for 49 days. Moreover, on day 7, day 14, day 21, every 7 days, we also mark the week. On the 40th day, for example, we say today's day 40, which is 5 weeks and 5 days of the Omer. Why do we count both days and weeks?
Yeah.
Well, Vayikra says you will count 50 days. Dvarim says...
Hold on. You will count until the day after the 7th week, 50 days, then you shall bring an offering of new grain to the Lord. Count 7 weeks for yourself. Start to count 7 weeks. Yeah, so what that was wheat, I guess. Okay, cool. So you give an offering of wheat until the next harvest, I guess, or the next grain?
Count 7 weeks for yourself. So we do both. What happens if you miss counting a day? What do you do then? If you remember during the daytime that you forgot to count on the previous night, you count then and there, but without the blessing. And then you resume counting that night with the blessing. What happens if you miss an entire day, a whole 24-hour period? Even then, all's not lost. You can resume counting night after night, but without the blessing. Good. Now, what's up with all of that?
Okay, so then my question would be, if the blessing is... sounds like the blessing is not necessary, but is necessary, because if you don't do the blessing, you can still count, just omit it. But then if you forget to count completely... then you don't do the, or like if you can forget a full day, then you don't bless at all, but you still do the rest of the counting? Very interesting. Okay.
What's the big deal with counting anyway? Isn't it enough that we have the 49 days of the Omer clearly marked in the calendar? Let's take a peek under the hood. The Omer period has to be understood in its specific function as a kind of time bridge between the two great transformative days that took place in 1313 BCE, the day we left Egypt and the day we got the Torah at Mount Sinai. Every year since that eventful year in history, we build and cross the same time bridge again. We build it by counting because time things, like time bridges, are constructed by counting. In Egypt, the Jewish people were totally enslaved, body, mind, and soul. The only way out of the total bondage was to make a break for it, to rush out of Egypt. Something like when an addict, who finally one day crashes against his pathetic state, is rushed into rehab by loved ones and desperately surrenders to the care of others. It's in a similar way that the Israelites had to violently break ties with their Egyptian identity in order to completely surrender themselves to God. It was the moment of exit, of Exodus. But the Exodus was just the point of departure. The destination was Torah, Mount Sinai. To receive God's Torah, you have to go beyond such desperation. You have to serve God, as the sages say, with both your hearts. By which the sages meant both that side of your personality that is good, godly, and filled with.
And you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, both your inclinations, your good inclination, and your evil inclination. Oh, okay.
Light and the not so good, not so godly, dark side of your personality. And this cooperative venture between your illuminated heart and your shadowy heart takes time to coordinate. It takes, well, 7 weeks to be precise. Going deeper in Kabbalistic depth psychology, the 49 days of the Sphira of the counting correspond to the 49 elemental emotional virtues of the human psyche. The psyche is composed of 3 intellectual faculties, Chokhmah, Bina, and Da'at, insight.
What the heck is this thing? Okay, hold on a second. Let me go back. Just one moment. So he said Chokhmah, Da'at, and Bina. Okay.
3 intellectual faculties, Chokhmah, Bina, and Da'at, insight, understanding, and knowing, and 7 emotional ones, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, Malchut, love, severity, beauty, success, splendor, foundation, and sovereignty. And each one of these is internally articulated into 7 nuances of the same 7 emotions. So you get the love of love, the severity of love, the beauty of love, the success of love, and so on.
Holy moly. This is bananas. Wow. Okay. I'm just trying to process this. Like, so you got the basically 7 pillars, and then but within those pillars they have their own subset of pillars particular to that one category, in a sense. Wow, okay.
Together, you get 7 times 7, 49 elemental emotional virtues. In the 49-day period of the Omer, each day is another refinement of another particular virtue through the integration of the useful energy that fuels the corresponding vice. Let's just take the first elemental virtue by way of illustration. Let's say, for example, that I envy you. I covet your brand new red sports car. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's red sports car, says the Torah. Envy is a vice.
Is this not Mr. Rogers? No. Mr. Rogers, right?
And yet, the secret message inside the envy is, wow, wow, beautiful red sports car. How delighted you must be to have such a delightful thing. Of course, what makes my recognition of your delight a vice is the fact that I would like to take this beautiful, new, sleek crimson joy away from you and for myself. But if only I could break off this selfish motive, what would be left over is the unique power of envy to recognize your delight. And if I could refine the envy into such an emotion, then I'd have what the first day of the Sphira calls Chesed Shebechesed, a loving generosity which has been purified of any ulterior.
Loving kindness with loving kindness. Chesed sheba chesed. Okay, cool.
Your selfish motive. You see, the Torah is not for angels or for human beings who wish to be angelic and whose souls are fragmented by such a self-destructive wish. The Torah is a divine gift for a soul that has achieved wholeness, having integrated all of its aspects, both the dark and the light, the godly and the beastly. It's the gift that allows one to express one's entire personality, so that the one above can take up residence here below in the neighborhood of your soul.
Damn, I feel like that like maybe scratched. I'm sure somebody will let me know if this video was too little information, not enough, this and that. But I feel like personally that maybe scratched like the surface of what all of this means. But that was a wicked video. I really enjoyed that. Shame it only has 3,000 views. I guess most people know this stuff, so they don't really watch a video on this, but that's awesome that they put this kind of stuff out for educational purposes or just to, explain it if somebody's curious. Um, but as always, you guys let me know what you guys thought about this one. And thank you guys, as always, for all the subscriptions, all the support. I really, really do appreciate it, as always. We're almost at 7,000 subscribers, which is amazing. Hopefully, I can start pumping out a little bit more content, but in the meantime, bear with me. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks.